Hi everyone, my name is Finn and I like talking about whatever comes to my stupid little mind. At D23 2024, an event where the Walt Disney Company announces their upcoming movies, TV shows, and especially things inside their theme parks, they announced that they would be building a Monsters Inc. themed land inside of their Hollywood Studios park at Disney World. Currently, it's only a few pieces of concept art, but when they announced it, they hadn't said where it would be being built. A bunch of ideas were being thrown around the community, but the main one was Animation Courtyard. If you don't know, that's the little area that has all it has is a Disney Junior show, a Star Wars store, which you can get the same merch inside of the Star Wars land at the same park, and then I think now a Little Mermaid show. And going into November of 2024, that's what everybody believed it would be taking over. And then they announced that it would be taking over the fan favorite area, Muppet Courtyard. If you don't know, Muppet Courtyard was the area where they had Muppet Vision. And they said starting June 8th, it would be closing permanently. This came as a shock to many because it was, as I said, beloved. But it's done. As of recording this, it's closed around 2 days ago. And I've decided, since I love this attraction so much, I would go back and just do a brief history of it. To do this, I've divided it into an easily internet-friendly numbered list. Part 1, a really brief history of the Muppets and Jim Henson. Jim Henson was born September 24th of 1936. He did a lot of stuff, but I haven't researched a lot. I've done this. I scripted this in a whole afternoon. A lot of time, I know. But the Muppets started out as a small series called Sam and Friends, and then Henson started working with Sesame Street in 1969. He started incorporating his Muppets characters, namely Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy, and Fozzie, a lot of the well-known characters, and they quickly jumped to popularity above almost everybody else. He then recorded their own show, The Muppet Show, in 1976, and it ended in 1981. After The Muppet Show, he just kept going. He created Fraggle Rock, one of my personal favorite films, The Labyrinth, and Muppet Babies, which is like a sequel/prequel. I don't really know what it is. And it got rebooted in 2018. They only grew in popularity from there, spun off into movies like Muppets Treasure Island, a bunch of games, albums, references throughout all of media. Then after the 90s, they kind of faded off into, the reference bin, like something that Family Guy would reference. And then the Muppet Revival of 2011, after they had been acquired by Disney, they started doing the Muppets again. But in 2011, they had a film release, then they had a sequel, and then they had a sitcom, a bunch of other short, mini movies, and just more and more. But nowadays, they're kind of in that area where, they're kind of where they were in the 90s, but still kind of more popular. The success of the Muppets in the 80s earned Disney's eye, and in 1989, they began to enter a merger deal with Jim Henson Studios. They announced during this, before the merger had been completed, that there would be a Muppets Great Movie Ride, a Italian-themed restaurant, and most importantly, Muppet Vision 3D. Part 2, the production of Muppet Vision. Filming began in January of 1990 and was directed by Henson. It featured one of his last performances and also one of the last performances as the Muppets with Richard Hunt. But unfortunately, on May 16th of 1990, Henson passed away before it was completely finished. This led to the merger failing, but they did end up acquiring them in the early 2000s, and it caused the delay of Muppet Vision being opened. It was originally supposed to open in May of 1990, and then it got pushed back to May 16th, 1991, exactly 1 year after Henson had passed. When it opened, it only included Muppet Vision. It did not have the courtyard area or the Italian restaurant, and the Great Muppet Movie ride was completely scrapped. So it kind of offered a lot less than was expected, but it still came out. Part 3, the exterior. When you first entered Muppet Courtyard, one of the first things you would see was the fountain. This fountain featured Miss Piggy as the Statue of Liberty, one of the rats, most likely Rizzo, in a boat stealing money, and then Fozzie, Animal, and Gonzo all doing a filming of Miss Piggy. Now, when I most recently went in April of 2025, all these elements except for Miss Piggy, the rats in the boat, and the fish on the outside. These guys, I don't know if you can see them. Everything else was gone. I don't know when this happened, but it has to have been a while ago, because as long as I can remember, they have not been there. On the side of the building was this mural, but this was also removed a few years before the closing of it. But it's a reference to Pulp Fiction. The Shawshank Redemption. There was also, originally on top of it, there was this balloon of Kermit the Frog. It also used to say Jim Henson's Muppet Vision 3D, but that sign, the Jim Henson part, was removed a few years after its opening. And then, lastly, the one last thing I want to touch on is whatever the hell this guy is. I don't know what he is, but I like him. There's a lot of other Muppets Lab-themed stuff, which is, Dr. Honeydew and Beaker, which I'm assuming what this guy is part of. But a lot of references to the Muppets were removed from the area even a long time before the closing of Muppet Courtyard. And now it's probably going to be removed for the most part, just throughout the parks as a whole. Part 4, the Muppets pre-show. This is probably one of the most detailed and coolest pre-shows I've seen in all of theme parks. And it could be its own show, because it's almost 15 minutes long. When it starts, there's these 3 construction guys, and they're setting it up. Obviously, there's a lot of hijinks, but they end up getting it done after a few minor accidents. Scooter then comes in. He's kind of like the production guy for the Muppets. And he tests the screens, leading to some gags about him crossing the screens. He gets multiplied, blah, blah, blah. The screen then gets painted into an ocean, and then fish get drained by the Penguin Orchestra. We'll see them later. And Fozzie helps them set up for their show. Scooter and Rizzo the Rat then come and instruct the audience, kind of instructions, to come together so they take up less room. This is obviously just so they have more room to fit more people in. But it's narrative. It's not the cast members telling them, it's the characters. Fozzie also comes back with the 3Ds, joined by Max, who is just a middle-aged man. They put on a terrible act, and Scooter forces them out. Bean Bunny, who's this little guy, he comes out saying he's going to help Miss Piggy with her act, and then she kicks him out, he flies across the screen, and then he runs off. Scooter goes to help him up, but he's distracted when Gonzo tells him somebody's on the phone and needs him. There's not, but Gonzo comes in, and he's wearing 3 plants on his head, and he does just a whole little dance with that. It's a very fun sequence, but he then gets shooed off by Scooter, realizing there's nobody on the phone. And then Bean also rejoins him, tries to help Miss Piggy, but then gets shooed out again. Sam Eagle, he's kind of like, I don't know what he does, but he's an Eagle guy. He likes America. He comes on and is starting to give some safety announcements, but is interrupted by Gonzo who's saying, Mickey Mouse is coming, which turns out to just be Rizzo the Rat in a Mickey Mouse costume. Once Sam finishes his safety announcements, everybody seen through the pre-show rushes through the screens. There's 3 of them. And they go onto stage. And the doors open to start the actual show. I'll get into more details later, but there are so many little things and so many cute details and Easter eggs. And it was just so cool. And it's really sad that this and the whole Muppet Vision as a whole is now gone. Part 5. Cheap 3D Tricks. This part is brought to you lovingly with a puppet show. Except I don't have puppets, and it's all paper, because I can't figure out how to edit videos on my cheap, crappy Chromebook. Before the curtains open, these guys, Statler and Waldorf, the hecklers, pop out first, and they start making jokes. The first one is, "What's that guy in the goofy mask doing?" "No, that's a lady." Ah ha ha ha. My personal favorite one of these is, "He's trying to drown us. What kind of act is this?" "An act of mercy." Ha ha ha. Knee slapper. The Penguin Band, these guys, they come out and they begin playing the ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da opening thing. And the logo starts popping out. And this is one of the first of many cheap 3D tricks. I should have air quoted cheap. Kermit then begins taking everybody on a tour of the offices. Once inside Muppet Labs, Dr. Honeydew and Beaker show their new device. And it's 3D, it makes a living 3D object, or guy, called Waldo C. Graphics. I hate him. He is doing a bunch of 3D shit, and he's just jumping around, causing mischief and mayhem, and then they try to vacuum him up. He ends up cloning himself. They vacuum up all the clones except one. They end up vacuuming up the screen goes black. He's the only thing that remains. Then he turns into a taxi and drives away. So he's gone now. Thank fucking God. After the screen goes black, Kermit comes back and he leads the guests to a performance by Miss Piggy. She's singing Dream a Little of Me. And then Bean Bunny, I'm just gonna hold him there. He tries to help, but ends up causing a bunch of problems. And at the end, when Miss Piggy shoos him away. He hands her the water skis as he gets pulled into water, and then he leaves through that door. That's just there now. He leaves and ends up finding Waldo. And they run away together. And then Gonzo tries to everybody starts to try and find him. Everyone tries to look for Bean. They're in the void now. That's where that room led to, by the way. Everybody tries to look for Bean. And then Sweetums, I'm just gonna hold him. This guy, who's just in this, he's just an actual person in a suit. Every show this happens. And they're actually trained by Jim Henson Studios, which I thought was cool. But he comes out looking for Bean. And then they figure out that Bean... Oh, he's upside down. Hold up. Is in one of the little boxes up there. And he says he's running away because it feels like everybody hates him and he's not helping. That's when Kermit and everybody else says he can help with the fireworks for Sam's finale, a tribute to all nations, but mostly America. Glorious 3-hour finale. He has a minute and a half to do it. In the finale, a bunch of little doll guys, they come out and they're playing the ba-ba-da, 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 that march. And then Waldo, he comes back and starts causing more shenanigans. And then the fireworks, which are activated by Bean, they shoot out into the sky. I'm just gonna... Whoa, firework. Whoa. They shoot out into the sky. And it's actually cool in the real thing. You could kind of see a little bit of projection on the screening. Or on the ceiling, sorry. and Waldo, ends up becoming a firework, zooms across the stage, and Miss Piggy, who's back on stage dressed as the Statue of Liberty, ends up getting her dress messed up. Then the penguin's trying to help. Waldo's all around the stage now, which, sorry, forgot to mention a cool thing about it. The walls are also being able to be projected on, so they have little projections throughout the thing. The penguins, the orchestra, they've been here the whole time. They shoot him with a cannon, but they miss and hit the projection booth, which is back here above the audience, which is run by Swedish Chef. They hit him, and then Swedish Chef sees Waldo. He tries to shoot him, but the whole theater just ends up getting destroyed. So after the whole cannon and Swedish Chef destroying the thing, Kermit then comes in on the screen on a fire truck, which originally, back when it first opened, the fire truck was actually there. You could get photos with it. And he says, "Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Blah, 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 all that." So then the screen closes. Waldo comes back one last time. He disguises himself as Mickey Mouse and is like, "They'll never catch me now," in a Mickey Mouse voice, which I cannot do. He is then backing back into the screen, and the curtains close. Sweetums comes back, says bye. Statler and Waldorf are still there, but the curtain closes on them, and that's Muppet Vision. This show was super special to not just me, but a lot of people, and especially because it was one of Jim Henson's last productions. Actually, his last, to my knowledge. The details just so amazing throughout, and every time I went, me and my mom would at least notice one new thing, and it was just, I loved it so much. And I'm really sad to see it go. Part 6. Mamma Mia. It's just Italian food. When Muppet Vision first opened, there was no, food spots directly in the area. But about 3 months later, they opened Mamma Melroses, which was an Italian-American restaurant. And it had some really unique food. There was a creme brulee type dessert that was included in a famous chef's cookbook, which I thought was cool. I never personally went there, but I've heard good things about it. And then about in 2016, they opened Pizza Rizzo, which was a quick service restaurant, and it had a lot more kid-friendly dishes, your pizzas, your meatball subs, all that. And this one was a very detailed area. It had a lot of references to other Jim Henson works. And it was, I never ate there. But it was really cool and just a lot of cute detail. And it's a shame to see both of these go. Mama Melroses closed about a month before everything else, and then Pizza Rizzo closed at the same time as Muppet Vision did. Part 7. Little Muppet Shop of Horrors. When Muppet Vision first opened, one of the few things that actually came with it was the Stage 1 Company store. This was one of the few places, at least when it launched, to get Muppet merchandise. And it, from the videos I've seen, had a lot of really cute a lot of really cute stuff in it, like little versions of the characters. But it had a lot of merch. But when the whole park and the world closed down for the pandemic, the park obviously closed, but when it reopened, it was at very limited capacity and not everything was operational. One of the things that was not operational was the store. And a lot of people were like, okay, once it's back at full operation, it'll reopen. It did not, and it sat closed until the closing of the whole land, as of yesterday, June 8th. I'm recording this on June 9th. But I feel like they could have reopened it for the end, at least just selling, bye-bye Muppets merch. But no, they kept it closed through the whole thing, which I think is a real shame. Part 8. We're doing a sequel. On February 8th, 2001, Muppet Vision 3D opened in Disneyland, the California park. This version was, from what I've seen, the same. This is the exterior, I believe. Cute little marquee there. And it seemed the same, besides in the pre-show, like some little differences, like maybe some posters here and there. This closed all the way back in 2014, and that was used for Mickey's PhilharMagic. And the only reason I bring this up is because I swear I remember seeing this once, and they had a little area where you could sit down, and then leading into that was you could go from there and then into the show. But I swear I remember, that a little bit before every show, Gonzo would, appear. He's gonna do a motorcycle trick, then he would jump and then crash into the wall. His feet would stick out of the wall a bit, and then he would eventually fall back into the wall. The wall would fix itself a few minutes later, and then the thing would repeat. But I cannot find that video anywhere. If anybody knows about this, please comment. I need to figure this out, so I know I'm not crazy. Part 9. Holy details, Batman. There's a lot of really cool details in this, like I've previously mentioned a few. But especially in the pre-show, like when you first enter, there's a sign saying back in 5, keys under the mat. And a lot of people will just think, okay, it's just so they don't have to have the actual Muppets there. But if you look under the mat, there would actually be a key screwed to the ground. There was also a net full of Jell-O, referencing to the actress Annette Funicello. A bunch of references to the movies, like the Space Pig from Muppets in Space. And one that I found out recently from a Quentin Reviews video is that the Penguin Band, they had sheet music. And on that sheet music was Rainbow Connections, which obviously is an iconic Muppet song, but doesn't appear in the show. And it's details like that which really set it apart from everything else. And it was so special, and I think, as I said, my mom and I would compete to see who could find something new first. And there's just so many cute things about it, and it's really sad that it's gone because no other kids, especially nowadays, will be able to experience this like I had when I was younger. Part 10, A Rainbow in the Swamp. In November 2024, at the same time they announced the closure, they also announced that Muppets would be taking over Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith. Not much is known about it, besides the fact that it's now opening in 2026, and it's going to feature songs from the Muppets band, Dr. Teeth, and Electric Mayhem. I'm personally hoping that, they have at least a Muppets animatronic in the pre-show. Like, they have videos of Aerosmith. I hope they replace that with Muppets animatronics. As of recording this, Muppet Vision just closed. And something that I would like to point out, the last guest to ever enter it was Jim Henson's daughter herself. And I thought that was a nice thing that Disney did. I made this because Muppet holds a special place in my heart. And this also helps me get my thoughts out about it. And it's a good, shorter video so that I can hopefully start making more videos. And this show was just so special. And one thing I would like to say is that Disney recorded the show, and hopefully they put it out on Disney Plus. Or what I really want is that the area by Rock and Roller Coaster, they replace that with Muppet Vision. So it's still around, it's just in a different area. But to quote Kermit the Frog, and by extension, Jim Henson, life is a movie, write your own ending. Keep believing, keep pretending. We've done just what we set out to do. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really hoping to get more into content creation. So if you enjoyed this, please let me know. And I will definitely do more of this. Until next time, have a great day and don't be a dick.